to my channel. We're moving onto our bird neck again, so we're just going to start bringing in this S shape that is going on with our bird. Everything you need is listed down below as usual. Any questions, do let me know, and let's just get started. So I'm just going to take my putty eraser and I'm just going to lift some of the graphite around this neck because we're going to be coming down here and along here. So I'm just lifting it so it's barely visible, but just enough that I can see it. And while we are working on this piece, I just want to bring in on the top of the head this coal grey one a little bit more. So I'm just going to come in and just use a little bit of a harder pressure with this coal grey one. It's just a little bit too light. I want to bring a bit more colour in here. Again, I'm making sure that I'm drawing this in the direction that those feathers are going. Sorry about the shadow. So you're just going to bring in a little bit more depth into this head. Okay, right. Just not quite happy with how that's lifted there. Okay, so we're coming down this neck, so I'm just move you over a little bit. Coal grey one. Just going to map in where I've erased that graphite, and then bring my coal grey one down this neck. Again, following that direction of the feathers. And then I'm just going to bring this coal grey one in here as well. So if you found that the head of your bird was too light, just go over it again with the coal grey one. It's just a little bit too light for my piece. And this coal grey one, I'm just going to bring all the way over. Okay, and I'm just going to come down here, and I'm just going to leave a little gap because this is looking warmer, so we're going to get those warm greys there. Okay, then got my ivory, and again just very light pressure along this edge. Like so. Okay, so I am going to bring this coal grey one down this neck, and we're going to use the warmer greys, the darker warmer greys, to really darken this up. I just want that bit of a blue tone to shine through. Okay, and then I'm going to take my ivory again, blend into that area, like so. Okay, I've now got my warm grey 2, and I'm just going to bring in some of these darker feathers. Along this neck because it's curving round and down. Okay. warm grey 3. Again, I'm just following that feather direction, just bringing in some darker details. Short little lines just to create some details. And here. It's all about just still building up those layers to create the depth within our feathers. And you can see we're starting to really build up the neck. Now I've got my coal grey 2, and again, just about bringing in some details. Some of the darker shadows. You want a sharp pencil. Mine needs to be a bit sharper. So I'm just sharpen this, and then I'm just going to bring in some details. I'm just again looking at that reference photo, what direction are the feathers going in, and just drawing some pencil strokes in that direction. Okay. Go back to my coal grey 1, and I'm just going to build up a little bit more coal grey. Again, kind of doing individual strokes, leaving little gaps to create that definition. Just building up the texture. That's all it is. We're just building up the texture. Okay. And now it's just a matter of once again coming in with that coal grey 1 as a base layer. It's going to be quite a lot of the coal grey 1, and then the coal grey 2s, the warm greys, just to build up texture. I'm pressing medium pressure here. I want this to get nice and smooth. Right, I'm going to get my white. I just want to use my white to help smooth this down a little bit more. So I'm just going to take this white and just press over these areas. Just going to help to smooth this out. I'm not pressing too hard because I want to draw on top, but it does help with the blending and just getting a nice smooth effect to our piece overall. Okay, going back to my coal grey 2, and I'm just going to start to once again follow those feather details, little shadows that I can see. So it's just like little random lines on our bird. And at this point, your feathers strokes, so these little pencil strokes, which are just indicating little stray feathers, little clumps of feathers, shadows. They don't need to be the same as where I'm placing mine. You just want to follow that direction that you can see and just build up some feathers. So next month's tutorial I'm going to be putting up in the Facebook group a little poll about yeah, we're going to have a vote on what animal to draw. So if you ever want to be involved in what animals we're going to get as tutorials, do join the Facebook group, because there is times where you get the choice of several images. I'm going to take my coal grey 3, not pressing hard, but I'm just going to use this to bring in some more detail. And again, it's just adding more depth to the piece. Making sure that I'm getting some little hairs going in different directions. It shows that the feathers are overlocking each other. Whoops, don't do that. I don't know how I managed that. Okay, and then I'm just going back to my coal grey 2. Again, it's all about just making it all look like a seamless blend. We need the warm grey 2. That's not warm grey 2, that's warm grey 3. Warm grey 2. Again, just blending, making sure everything looks seamless. So, okay, I'm getting happy with this little bird. Back to my coal grey 2, and again, I'm just going to start bringing in some little V shapes and some little details coming down this bird's neck. And then you can go over that with the coal grey 1. And then I'm just going back to my ivory. Just going to warm up this kind of side of the head. And then the white. Now a lot of this I think I'm going to end up coming back to once I've kind of got quite a bit of the neck in, and I can see where I need some more details. I'll probably end up coming back and adding a few extra details, but that's fine, we can work back and forth. This is the warm grey 2. And I'm just going to take my warm grey 1 as well, just to blend over the top. And with this warm grey 2, just along the edge, bringing in some little warmer details. To our little bird. Okay, just moved you up again, and I'm just going to take the putty eraser right. So I'm going to take my coal grey 1, and we're just going to come around this part of the neck first. This is where we're really starting to get a nice curvature on our bird's neck. And it's getting into some nice warm tones there, so we need to make sure that we're just keeping an eye on these tonal changes. Okay, so my warm grey 3, and I'm just coming back to this neck, darkening up some of these little shadows that's going on. Okay, you can see how it just really brings this neck together now. And then I'm going to use the warm grey 2 over the top just to help blend them. Together. Okay, and then I'm going to take my warm grey 1 in this corner where it's going to start curving round, because it's going to get a bit of a yellow tone there. Just mapping out these colours, and then my coal grey 2. Again, just little details. And then you can go over the top of that again with a warm grey one, cold grey one, sorry. And then I'm going to take my warm grey 2, and this needs to just blend downwards. Okay. And then my cold grey 2, I'm just going to darken this little edge up. There is a bit of a darker curve there. Right, lift some graphite, and then I'm just going to add the cold grey 1 as a base layer, and we're just going to keep building up how we have been doing. We can still see that, that's great. And I'm making sure I'm looking at these feather directions. So even though we're curving around this neck, the feathers here are still going in that direction. They're still going down to the left. Okay. Right up to where that graphite was. So it looked quite daunting at first, but we're getting somewhere quite quickly with this bird. Okay, got my warm grey 1. Just going to bring in some of the detail on this side. Again, making sure that my pencils are nice and sharp. And then over the top of that with the ivory. And then I'm just going to go over where I've got the ivory with my white. Okay, and then it's back to my cold grey 2, and again the directions of these feathers. Sharp point of my pencil being used to create these details. Just going to keep sharpening my pencil to make sure that I'm using the sharpest point to really get these details. So once we've built up the base layers, having a sharp pencil is what's going to really help us build these extra details within our work. And I'm just going to start to blend. So when I'm blending here, I'm just lifting the pressure, but just bringing that cold grey 2 into this lighter area. And doing the same up here. Okay, I'm just grabbing my cold grey 3 again, and just little details, any areas that need to be a little darker. Just doing that with the cold grey 3. Again, sharp pencil. I'm just going to take my warm grey 1 over the top. Okay, coming along. Let me get my warm grey 3 again. And now I'm just going to kind of try and refine some of this. I want to make it look quite a smart looking bird. But we're looking a little rough and ready at the moment, so we just want to refine some areas that maybe aren't as smooth looking as they could be. And I can see that I need to darken here, so let me move you down a little bit more. Here we go. So here needs to be darker, so I'm just going to come in with a warm grey 3. And as we start to really build up this bird elsewhere, we're going to see areas that just need to be darkened ever so slightly, and we can come back to them. So this is what I do on commissions. I'll build up an area and then I might have to come back to it later on, and it's completely fine if you do. So I'm just bringing this warm grey 3 along here, blending downwards. And then I'm going to get my warm grey 2. And blend that round as well. Okay. And I'm just bringing that warm grey 2 back in down here as well, along this side of the neck. Okay, back to my cold grey 2. Just blending where I've added that warm grey, blending a bit of this blue tone over the top. Okay, just grabbing my ivory again. I'm just going to bring it in. So all we're doing is we're building up these white feathers, but we're using our greys and our ivory to just add some colour to our bird, because the white fur reflects what's around it. So we can see that it's reflecting the sky or the water, and then this ivory is indicating the beak or maybe the sun. So we're just making sure that it all fits nicely together. Right, I just want to do a bit more to this part of the head as well, so let me just move you up again. So I noticed that up here needs to be just a little bit darker, so I've got my cold grey 3 and I'm just going to bring in, again, some little details. So I'm just all about constantly building up the depth to these feathers, building up the darkness to the white fur, which always, feathers, which always sounds funny when you say that you're darkening up white feathers, but it is required. My favourite thing to say is white fur is never fur, and I know we're not drawing fur, but white feathers are never white. And then I'm going to get my cold grey 2 and just bring that in here as well. And then my warm grey 2, because we need some detail in here. We've not got any, so I'm just going to bring in warm grey 2. Again, just following the direction of the feathers, just building up a little detail along there. My cold grey 2. Actually, I'm just going to take my cold grey 3. I just want to darken that little shadow there. Just about creating some little shadows. And you can see just how much this has really brought detail and depth into our bird. I'm just going to, again, come down here with a little bit more detail. Okay, my warm grey 2 again. And with the warm grey 2, just a little bit of detail under here. So we have come kind of back to where we started last time. But as I've added more colour, I've just wanted to bring in a little bit more detail. And you don't need to add as much detail as I do, it's just a personal choice. I like a lot of detail within my work. If you've seen my work anywhere else, you'll know that I add a lot of detail. And it's not always about the detail, it is about your darks being dark and your lights being light, but yeah, I like detail. Okay, I'm happy with that, and I'm just going to bring in some little details along. Just very lightly, I'm not pressing hard, but it's just going to give that indication of the direction of the feathers and how they're laying on this bird. Okay, just the warm grey one. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Oh, just a little area here. So my cold grey 2. Just bringing in a little detail again. Yeah, that's better. Right, let's keep going down the neck. So I've got the putty eraser, and as usual, we're just going to lift some of this graphite. Okay. Okay, so cold grey 1 as the base layer. Pressing fairly hard now, it's going to start to get a little darker as we come down this side of the neck. It's been quite light so far, but we are going to get some depth being brought in. And again, I'm just bringing it down from this part of the neck that we've already drawn in. It's quite a quick piece again, is this piece. But hopefully you've enjoyed it. I know it's white again, and it's a bird, which is different. I think the next animal, I was going to do a zebra, but we've done a lot of white and black animals recently, so I'm gonna have a look for maybe another brown coloured dog, maybe, or animal. We'll see what I can find. Just a bit more variety. Maybe we'll do a butterfly. That'd be quite cool. Right. So I'm first of all going to get my ivory. So we've got a bit of a yellow tone. With the ivory, I'm just coming across in here. And along the back of this neck. So remember, we're just keeping it all looking the same. Even though we've been building it up in sections, everything is the same. Okay, then my cold grey 2 along this back of this neck. Just going to bring in those details now. So harder pressure, it's a bit darker as we start to come down here. And again, I'm still following that feather direction. I'm sure I've said fur direction multiple times in this video, but you all know what I mean. And this way. And again, I'm just using this cold grey 2 to create those little fur details. Okay, I'm going to get my warm grey 2. Again, I'm just building up the details and the direction of these feathers. Building up the depth where there's some depth. back to the coal grey 2. And then I'm going to take my warm grey 1 over the top here. The Ivory again, just where I did that warm grey 1. And then I can take my white and I can just really smooth and blend. So the white softens the details as well, so that the details aren't as sharp. Gives it a really nice soft look to the piece. Okay. Back to my putty eraser, just lifting and getting to a darker area as we come down here. Okay, back to my coal grey 1 as the base layer. And I'm really going to start to focus on this direction because the feathers are starting to go in different directions. Just let me lift that graphite there as well. Really starting to curve now. We're starting to get this sense of direction of what's happening with our bird. Again, I'm just going to bring this pencil down here. Okay, so I'm just going to get this section built up with the coal grey 1, and then we're going to work on this little section, and then we'll come back up here. Okay. Right, so just working on this bottom half first. So I'm going to get my warm grey 2. Just move this piece of paper, there we go. Just going to start bringing in the fact that this is a little warmer, it's in the shadow. And here as well. Blending that outwards, so lighter pressure, and then I'm going to get that warm grey 1. Just blend that outwards as well, over the top. And then I can get my coal grey 1. Over the top there. The Ivory, just adding that hint of yellow, creamy yellow colour. Okay, back to my coal grey 2. Just for detail. Okay, oh, I'm liking this now. Back to the coal grey 1, sharp pencil, just to create some little detail lines. We'll come in with the coal grey 2 afterwards, but I'm just going to do it very slightly with the coal grey 1. Okay, coal grey 2. The feathers here, they look a little longer, so my pencil strokes are a little longer now. And they're still following that shape of the neck. Okay, going back to my coal grey, warm grey 2. Just going to darken some of these shadows here. Right. Just gonna lift that graphite as well. Take my warm grey 2 and I'm just gonna darken here just so that I know where this sort of neck is bending, I guess. We've got a nice bend there. And then coal grey 1, just bring that base layer right up to that line. Gives us somewhere to work from. Okay, so the warm grey 2 again. And the coal grey 2. Okay, I'm going to take the warm grey 1 just to blend where we've got that warm grey 2. Just blending that outwards. And then my coal grey 1. And then just over this area that we've just mapped in, I'm going to take that white. Not pressing too hard, because if we need to work on top of this, we want to be able to. But we're just going to get a nice blend in here. Okay. So back to my putty eraser. And then I'm going to take my coal grey 1 very lightly. I'm not going to press too hard. Very lightly. Just going to sort of, it's almost creating a base layer, but we're doing it very, very lightly. Like we did on the top of the head when we did the top of our bird head. Let me just erase that graphite line a bit more. Right, and then take my warm grey 1. Again, I'm just bringing it around this area. A bit harder pressure than what we were using with the coal grey 1. I'm just building up some detail. You can take the ivory. Again, not pressing hard. This is all looking very subtle. You should be using medium to light pressure. Going back to the coal grey one. This should look, you should be able to see the difference. When you're looking at your drawing, you should be able to see the white paper, and you should just be able to see what you've just laid down in this corner, but it's going to be very light. And then I'm going to take my white. Blend. Okay, let's build up some details. So, going back to my coal grey 2, I'm just going to start to build up the detail now. So again, following feather direction. And any little dark shadows that you can see, just adding them in. So I'm just sticking with the coal grey 2. I'm just making sure that my pencil is sharp. Just building up detail. Okay, I'm going to take my warm grey 2. Again, just going to sharpen it. I want it to be nice and sharp. And again, adding in a little bit of detail. Not much, it's very subtle on this part of the bird. But just a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to bring this warm grey 2 again down here. We're going to darken this up in a minute. Just going to bring that round. Okay, I'm going to take my warm grey 3 and just build up some of the depth here. And I can also see a pinkish colour, so I'm going to take my Beige Red very lightly. I don't want to take this too dark, but there is a bit of a pink hue coming through, so I'm just going to very lightly in this area bring in the Beige Red. It's not much, it's very, very subtle, so don't worry if you don't see it. But yeah, I can definitely see the pink hue. And then I'm just going to go over that with the warm grey one. Okay, back to my coal grey one. Just going to darken here. Okay, and I think, oh, warm grey 3. I'm just going to, this area is going to be darker as we bring in that shadow. But I think I'm going to leave this here. I know it's a shorter tutorial than normal, but I want to focus next time on bringing the neck downwards. Or maybe we'll do this little section. Let's do that section. Just ignore what I said. Putty eraser. I'm really enjoying this piece. I don't really want to stop, but I don't want to make these tutorials too long for you. So the coal grey 1 here. I do try to make them about an hour, if not just under an hour long. Right, so I press a little harder there, and then this area is going to be very subtle again. So not as hard, a bit light pressure. Yeah, I try to keep them about an hour long. I think an hour per tutorial is long enough for you to listen to my ramblings. Okay, that's the coal grey 1. So again, I'm going to get the warm grey 1, following that curve here, and it's going to curve down. And in here. And then my ivory. So it's been back and forth. This is what the rest of the piece is kind of going to be like, a bit of back and forth between the colours that we've been using. building up the colours and then building up some texture. Cold grey 2. So if you go ahead and finish this tutorial without the rest of the parts, I understand why, because it is just back and forth between the colds and the warms. Excited to see this piece finished though. Cold grey 1 again. And the white. Okay, picking up the ivory again. Just going to get my warm grey 2. And then the warm grey 1. Just making this feather here a little bit more noticeable. Back to the warm grey 2. The warm grey 1. Back to the ivory. And then my cold grey 2. And that's just going to come down and around here as well. So I'm just making sure I'm following the curve. It's got, the whole reason I chose this image was that really nice curve that this bird's got going on. Warm grey 2. That's what really drew me to this image, was the curve, and obviously it's white. I love white. White fur, white birds, anything white. I love drawing white. And then the cold grey 1 again. Okay, and I think we're going to leave our bird at this point, and then we will come to the rest of him in the next part. So I've just zoomed you out, and here you can see how far we have got on our bird. I'm really happy with him. We're really starting to get a nice curvature to his neck. There's still a little depth to add, especially around here, but we need to get this darker shadow in, which I want to do next time. So any questions, as usual, let me know down below, and I will see you all in the next part. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video, it really helps the channel out, and I will see you all soon. Bye everybody.